I met a gypsy.
How did the Factory KTM thing come about? So we were sort of talking before that you did like that privateer season.
Yeah.
So what were your results like in the first couple years pro? Like how would you describe like the lead up to getting the KTM gig?
First year professional was yes.
Really?
Yeah, I got 13th overall. I got rookie of the year. I did battle for a couple of podiums, but like it was like nothing. I was so inconsistent. Like it wasn't even funny.
And why was that, you reckon? Like
just lack of knowledge.
Yeah, okay.
Lack of knowledge. Knowledge is everything.
So like what didn't you know?
Like everything. Yeah, like some suspension, like, and I was super, like Reggie built my suspension, my first ever set American suspension, and like no one else even wanted to do it. Like, and Reggie just went, yeah, I'll do it. Killed it. I used the same suspension for 3 years. Reggie did it, and then we got an American set done, and that made it sort of closer to how I like, and that for my first year professional. But the first year was just all over the place. Like trailer was like we got a good trailer. We had a good trailer the last next 2 years, but like it was a shitty trailer. Broke my collarbone, missed a few rounds. Like it was sort of all over the show. Nothing was really like we went to probably 2 races where it was like, yeah, bikes are locked in, ready to go.
Like, we're ready, bikes are ready, we're here on time.
Like I'd go to the track and we'd still be doing work on them and stuff. And then the next year in 19 I had that team start of the year. I started out good, like I got 5th at Daytona against like 80 people, and that was super cool because it was my second year and whatnot, and so it was great. And then
what bikes were that on?
Cowies. So I rode Cowie my whole life until 21, and then so that happened, and and then it's, as I said, there's 7 rounds, and then it sort of went away, the team and I. So then me and Dad, I bought my own bike, a 19 Cowie. So then he had one from the year before, and we went out and did it ourselves again. And
did the results get better when you were doing it on your own?
Not really. They're up and down. Like as I said, still inconsistent. Like I got, I think, like 3 7ths in a row. Like, right. It was just like that was like just average. You know, that's what that year was, average. And a 9th in the championship, got a podium, my first podium, and then it was just like I had such good speed sometimes in heat races and stuff, and I'd just fall as shit in the main events. Like I'd just fall apart.
And what was that, like mentally, you reckon?
Mentally, and then I think I used to just like you got to be so like, flat track in America is like so mental. Yeah. And I think like it's like any racing really, but like I wasn't mentally strong. Like I was just like, whatever. Yeah. And then when Dad left in 2020 at the start of the year, made me realize like, and he said, as I said before, he said, this is the last year that we're, going to fund it. And so I was like, I really need to just go out there and just like, it sort of like made me like work. It was like, because I didn't do shit in 18, 19. I sort of just had to, like, I was just like cruising around with Dad. Yeah. And, eating pies, whatever. But then it really just like, I was a kid. And then when he left, it was sort of like, all right, now you have to really like sink or swim. Like, this is it. Do you want to work for the rest of your life as a carpenter or something, and I won the season opener in 2020, doing my own thing.
That's sick. Yeah. That must have been a good feeling.
Yeah, against factory teams, everything. Rolled up, me, my best mate, and Barry. We went out there and we won it. And then the next night, the bike broke. So I had to ride my other bike. And then I ended up that year with a win and 5 podiums, second in the championship. But all year, I was so worried about not getting a ride. Yeah. I was like hassling every team. I was like, hey, what about me? And they're like, nah, I can't do anything for you. But the one I've always like, Red Bull KTM, like I've always wanted a Red Bull helmet. Yeah. And I got up to Chris Fillmore. You've probably heard the name. Yeah, yeah. Like legend. He's team manager. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, nah, sorry, I can't do anything. Like, it was like every like 2 rounds I'd ask him, hey man, can we do something? No, I can't do anything. I was like, all right. And then at the last round, I went 2nd and 3rd because every round was a double header, trying to make up the weekend because
of COVID.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, the last 2 rounds, I got 2nd and 3rd, and like I was like in reaching distance of winning both of them. And I remember I was walking back to my pit because I was pissed. I wanted to win the last race, and I won one. I wanted to win at least one more. And I'm walking back to my pit, and Fillmore was like, "Oi, And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, he goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm probably just going to unpack the RV. I got to sell it and head home in 2 weeks. And he's like, what are you doing next weekend? And I was like, nothing. And he's like, how about you come to Cali and ride the bike?
Fuck.
And I was like, yup. So I remember that night, sat in the RV and I called my mum and dad and I'm like all pumped. And then booked a flight, 2 days later. So like hurried back to Pennsylvania. That's where I unloaded everything, like got rid of everything out of the RV, sorted it all. And then, flew to Cali and I was hanging with my dad's mate and he's a stunt worker in LA. And he's like, all right, let's go do some supermoto. And I put it on an Instagram story that I was in California. And another team reached out to me. They're like, hey, do you want to come ride our bikes?
Really?
And I was like, yeah. And so he's like, what are you doing Tuesday? And I'm like, can't do it Tuesday. I'm with my friends and friends and close people. But I was testing the KTM.
Yeah, yeah.
And KTM were like, you cannot tell anyone. Like, you cannot tell anyone. Yeah. And so, like, I won't, promise. So I'm wearing Robbie Madison's leathers. Actually, I forgot my leathers, so I left them or something. So I'm in Madison's leathers, and I ride the KTM on the first day. And the next day I go back and ride the Yamaha Twin.
Oh, yeah. And so the TT bike?
No, like the big bike. Like
the twins. The twin,
yeah. So I ride that. And they race them on every circuit too.
Yeah, okay.
And
what was that like?
It was pretty gnarly. Like, they were fast.
Yeah. Was that the first time you'd rode one of those?
No, second time.
Yeah.
But I never rode one on a smaller track. I only rode one on the miles.
Yeah.
And so Phil was like grinding me all day. No photos, can't tell anyone, nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember on the, like, they have the waivers, like, sign your life away. I signed it and I had the date on it. And the next day I roll up there. They're like, what have you been up to? I'm like, oh, nothing, just hanging with friends and family. And the track owner comes up and goes, wow, you're a bit of a bike slut, aren't you?
Oh, no.
And I'm like, he's like, what is he talking about? And I'm like, oh, nothing, don't worry about it. And he goes to do the sign-on thing, and because everyone has to sign it on. And the team guy comes back and he's like, were you here yesterday? And I'm like, nah. And he's like, it says on the thing, the date. And I'm like, yeah, I was riding yesterday. So then it was kind of weird, but yeah, I rode that bike then the next day. And then I remember, because then I flew back like 2 days after that, and I was in quarantine. Worst 2 weeks of my life.
So you flew back to Oz after that? Yeah, right.
And was stuck in a hotel room.
So you had to do the hotel quarantine?
Yeah, it's worse.
What a crazy era that was.
It's actually like mind-blowing thinking back at it.
Dude, I know. Like traveling, I just got back last week and just chilling in an airport normally.
Yeah,
what were we up to?
1 year is just like freak out, and then now it's just like nothing.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, sorry. So worst 2 weeks of your life.
Yeah, and so I remember Phil was like, we don't know, because at the time Shayna Texter was riding, and she's an animal, female, she wins races. Excuse me. And he goes, we've got her and we don't know if we can do a second ride or whatever. And I was like, all right, all good. And there's a Suzuki team that I was talking to and film and, KTM. And I remember I was like in like the mix of all this, and I was like, hey, the Suzuki team's like, hey, we need to know if you're in or you're out on this date. And Phil was like, I still haven't got word yet. So like I was going back and forth, and I remember it came down to like 10 minutes. Like Suzuki, Wally Brown that had the KTM now. They used to be Suzuki.
Ah, yeah.
And so they were like talking, like they're like, hey, this day. And then I'm like, can I do one more day? And they're like, yeah. And then I'm like, can I do one more day? And they're like, yeah. But then they're like, hey, you have 3 p.m. till this time because we're bringing a kid down to ride our bikes. I'm like, all right. So I remember Fillmore calls me at like 2:30 that day. He's like, hey, you got the ride. And I was so stoked in quarantine. Couldn't tell anyone, couldn't do anything. I remember I'm like, hey, sorry guys, I got the KTM, and they were like super cool. Wally's a great guy. He's like works at Joe Gibbs Racing in NASCAR.
Oh, sick, yeah.
And he was like, no, it's all good.
Because you never want to like burn that bridge.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, got the KTM deal, signed a 1 year deal, and then yeah.
And that was like a paid deal.
Yep. Not much by any means,
but that's all. At least you get.
But I have
paid,
pretty good bonuses.
Yep.
And then so I did well. I won 5 races that year, and got a couple podiums, and finished the year second in points by 6 points. Second, by 6 points. But a few rulings through that year kind of like screwed me a little bit. But hey, it's racing. It is what it is. But got second, and then that was 21. Then this year came back and I podiumed the first 4 races, and then I podiumed the first 3 out of 4 races, and then broke my leg.
Yeah,
missed a few, so it cost me, and ended up 5th this year. Won a race, and I struggled a little bit this year, but it's been good. I've appreciated it. I appreciate it way more than what I think some others do, because we did it so tough. Coming from Oz, living with the old boy in the RV, and it really changed the way I look at it, and I appreciate so much more what the team does for me.
Like the
just
support
showing
that
up.
You've got.
Yeah, just showing up to the racetrack, not having to worry about the bikes. Like, you're on the line when you're doing it yourself. You're like, oh shit, did I tighten the rear wheel? Like, I don't have to worry about any of that. Like, I have a great team behind me, and they're phenomenal. So I have suspension guys and stuff. Yeah, so it's sweet.
And so you did the first year, and then they signed you. Did they sign you to like a multi-year deal after that?
So halfway through 21, they signed me for a 2-year extension. So
sick.
I got more money, more of all that. But I got signed for 22 and 23. So I got this year coming as well on the contract, and hopefully keep going.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. To that full journey from Oz, and then to be a privateer with your dad, then to just be completely by yourself, and then to kind of get picked up by the biggest team. Like,
for sure, it's sweet.
Must be crazy.
Yes, it's pretty crazy. And then start of the year, I'll head over January 13th, and we'll head to Florida, and I'll stay at James Raspoli's house, and we'll just grind for 3 months, and then the season starts March 15th. So it's pretty sweet. You get to see more of the country, whatever, hang out, more friends. It's sweet.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform, or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.